Milo, how you doing?
Good, good, good. Thank you.
No worries. So, what is locked-in syndrome for those that aren't familiar with it?
So locked in syndrome is basically where you're unconscious, but you're consciously awake. Um, so imagine sleeping and not being able to move. Um, and you basically look like you're in a coma. Um, Sleep paralysis would be the easiest way to describe it. So all I could do was I could move my eyes up and down, um, and uh, yeah, it was pr- 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 pretty weird.
Most people would view being locked in as the closest thing to hell on earth. How does the reality live up to the public perception?
Hell on earth is pretty accurate because I could hear everything on around me, and if you've ever been in a an ICU ward, they're they're very calm and they're very quiet, but they're also loud because things can go very quickly. And um, I could hear the nurses rushing about. I could hear my parents coming in and out of the room. My brother. I remember my brother telling mum and dad to go home, and he'd sit with me for a while. Um, and then the scariest moment was um, I heard my friends' voices. I realised that I was in ICU, and when they were letting my friends in, I realised that it was a pretty bad situation I was in because they don't let anybody who isn't either a brother or a sister or a mum or a dad into the ICU ward. You know,
Yeah.
it's a infection control thing and to keep the area clear. So you know, when they're letting people in that aren't family, a direct family, you're kind of like, oh, this is serious.
Yeah.
And then uh, my aunt came to visit, and that was especially scary because she lives over in Germany, and I don't know how to put this nicely, but she doesn't come over to for anything major, so she didn't even come over for my grandma, her mum's funeral, but she came over to see me. So I I, I knew it was not good.
Yeah. So, your encephalitis was initially misdiagnosed as schizoaffective disorder, a condition similar to schizophrenia. Can you
Hmm.
say a little bit about that, please?
So um the schizo so anti NMDA receptor encephalitis is a condition I have, um, and in its early stages, it presents itself as mental illness. Um, so as far as they were concerned, I was, um, I was hallucinating. I I was having seizures. There was a lot kind of going on, and it got to a point where I ended up hurting myself, and that is when I was taken into hospital, and I was put in under a section. Um, and then so they just thought this was a schizoaffective disorder. They didn't think it was anything else, so I was sectioned for to be looked after, and then I collapsed um, a week into my sectioning, and I had a stroke. Um, and that's when I was brought up to neurology because they realised that they couldn't care for me um, in uh, in the psychiatry ward. Um, and then when they were treating the stroke, And then that's when I became locked in after that.
What was the experience of being sectioned like?
Awful. Being sectioned is it's humiliating. You know, you'll see online people go, "Oh, grippy socks vacation," but it's not like that. Do you know, I have a favorite hoodie, and they took the strings out of my favorite hoodie, and I often chew on them because I'm autistic.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I got one of my main sources of comfort taken away, which to anybody it seems like nothing. But, you know, that was a major thing. You know, you're in like these paper pajamas that would rip. You're sleeping on a mat on the floor with a paper blanket that will rip. So it's all designed so you can't hurt yourself. And I was on a 2-to-1, so I had 2 members of staff. They were always with me, even going to the toilet. Like, they had to sit and watch me go to the toilet. I didn't even get a shower on my own.
Yeah.
You know, you lose your humanity. It's not nearly the cute thing that people describe it as. And especially for me, as I was being diagnosed as schizoaffective disorder, but I knew that there was something wrong. I was saying to the doctors, look, I've got horrible headaches. I'm dizzy. I'm being sick. And they were just going, no, 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 that's just all in your head. And, you know, it was all getting pushed off as a schizoaffective disorder. And you just sat there going, no, no, this is wrong. This, you know, this is my body. And I mean, looking back, they totally should have seen that something else was going on because it came on far too quickly.
Mm.
I mean, schizoaffective disorders do come on very, very fast.
Yeah.
But mine came on too fast.
Yeah.
So it was quite a lot.
So, what was your impression of the ward? Like, did you have a chance to interact with any of the other patients?
On the psychiatry ward, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we were all the ward was very bare. You know, there's regular hospital wards. They have a bit of colour to them. You know, they put nice posters up to cheer up people and stuff like that. But a psychiatric ward, it's just so clinical. That you are there for your safety, so there is nothing nice around you. And
Yes, sorry, turning it off.
I spoke to a couple of the other patients there, but like I don't really have much memory of it all, because it was a very high stress time for me. But yeah, it was just so harsh. It's such a harsh environment. Yeah, it's just not.
What was the moment you first realized you were locked in?
I don't really know. It was something I kind of was like, I realized I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it wasn't a oh my word, I've got locked in syndrome. It's a why can't I move? What's going on? Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know how to describe it because it's just you're lying there and you're going, what the hell's going on? And I felt like I was going to have a panic attack, but I couldn't have a panic attack.
Yeah.
So it was just so much emotion and I still had feeling, and I could feel who I now know was my mum gripping my hand and kissing it, and
So you could feel like you know, you could feel things on your skin, but just not
I
respond.
just couldn't react to it, and because she was pressing it almost too tightly, and I
Yeah,
was going ow in my head, but I couldn't tell her,
yeah,
and that was that's a weird experience, being like, huh, I can't move. Yeah, it's not something that's easy to describe.
no, of course, of course. And I have a question. Sorry, I say I have a question. I've had a bunch of questions, but I have another one. Um, did you sleep while you were locked in?
Yeah, so you develop a regular sleeping schedule. So for me, that meant I actually went to sleep in a fairly regular time. But near the end of it, I was sleeping during the day and being awake at night.
Yeah,
Um, and it's not a sleep somebody could shake you awake from. You are in a very deep sleep, but yeah, it's so hard to describe. But yeah, you're asleep. You do sleep, and you wake up, and yeah,
yeah.
you go about a normal brain routine as such, just
Did
without the use of
anyone
your body.
did anyone once they realized, did they like leave I don't know, TV on or music or something to keep your brain occupied?
No, there wasn't anything, but my family were pretty much always there. There was pretty
Okay.
much always somebody with me. Um, and my brother, he was often chatting to me as if I was
Yeah.
there having a conversation. I mean, to me, I was having a conversation with him,
Yeah.
but he didn't obviously know it. I remember him talking about the holiday we just had, and in my head, I was answering him like, "Yeah, that was fun." And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, remember the beach?" It's like he couldn't hear me, but I was having a full on conversation with him.
Yeah. I have this fear that if that ever happened to me, my sister would put Jedward on and she would just leave. Like it would just be an awful. I mean, it's already an awful experience, but just doubling down on that. When you were locked in, did you think that you would recover, or did you think this is it? This is my life now.
I don't really know. I was too focused on the now, like
Yeah,
I need I need somebody to know I'm here. Um, think by kind of day 8, because I knew that time had passed, but it felt like a lot longer.
yeah,
Um, so when somebody explained to me, "Oh yeah, you were just lying there for 11 days," I'm just like, felt like 2 months.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was. I couldn't answer that honestly without saying, yeah, I think this will be it forever.
But some family members said their last goodbyes. Is that right?
Yeah, because they were pretty sure that so the doctors were saying that the reason I was in this coma was because of the lack of oxygen that I had been getting from the stroke. Um, because when they were doing the various neurological tests, they were getting um, signals back that are perfectly fine with a patient with encephalitis, but because
Yeah,
they didn't know that I had encephalitis, they were going, "Oh, this is bad." So yeah, it was. So there was family and there was friends coming in to say goodbye. Um, yeah, and I can remember like people kissing my face and
yeah. That's got to be
yeah,
hard, right?
yeah, it was pretty kind of like because I remember I was going, but I'm here, like
Yeah,
don't go. I'm right here. I'm here. I can hear you. Do you know?
Yeah.
Imagine standing in a room and everybody's talking to you, but they aren't listening to you. Do you know? I'm just stood there going, why aren't you here? And I'm pretty sure that I had an out of body experience as well.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure because some of my dreams are muddled, but I can almost remember standing, looking at myself lying in the bed, and my brother there, and he was holding his phone with and had pictures on it, and he was showing me me lying there, the pictures on his phone, being like, oh, do you remember this? And so whether it was a dream or what was an out of body experience, I don't know, but yeah, it was very strange. It's like I'm standing in the corner of the room and
Yeah.
everything going around me is happening.
Did you so when you came out, how do you approach the people that have already said their goodbyes? Like, do you know, how do you handle that mentally?
It was odd because I knew that that I had a deeper appreciation for my relationship with them because I realized how much I meant to them. Do you
Yeah.
know? Because do you know where I live in comparison to where the hospital was? It was a fair old journey, so I kind of knew that, you know, if they were coming to say goodbye, I meant a lot to them. And actually, a lot of my relationships with people did change because I had a group of friends who um they went on holiday whilst I was in my locked in syndrome, because they were finding it too stressful being around me, and they all went off to Greece. Even
Oh,
whilst even there was a couple of people coming to say goodbye to me, and they were away on holiday. And so I haven't actually spoken to them since it, because I just was kind of like, well, actually, you didn't give a shit.
yeah.
Like,
No, that's not okay.
yeah, it was a funny one. I had much deeper appreciation for my
I wish
loved
you'd have
ones.
told me about that before I put all the banners up, because I'd have had a banner that said "fuck those guys," and I'd just put it up at occasional times. That's not okay.
Yeah,
Like, you don't get to be like, "Oh, my friend's in a coma. I'm stressed. I'm going to go abroad." You know? No, that's not.
yeah.
Send me their emails afterwards. I'm gonna send them a load
I
of
don't even have
abuse.
a contact for them anymore. I just
No, send me an
totally,
address. I'll come up to where you are. We'll have dinner and then we'll go beat them up. That's not okay. No,
yeah,
that's not. No, I'm mad now.
yeah. It was,
Oh,
but I suppose I learnt, you know, okay, I was only 19 when this happened, but I probably learnt a lot quicker who my real friends are.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How old are you now?
I'm 22 in a couple weeks.
What was some of the most frustrating things about being locked in?
Probably hearing people around me. They were making decisions for me. Um, and you know, there was one time, um, my family were talking to the doctor, and he was saying, he was saying something about, look, if this goes on any longer, you will need to look at long-term care. And that was scary, but it was also like incredibly annoying because I was just like, no, I'm here. Uh, I'm like, I'm okay. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I think it was very, it was a very real mix of frustration and a scariness at the same time. Because, you know,
yeah,
as much as I was finding experiences frustrating, I also understood that there was people around me who were really stressed. Um, you know, like, um, as soon as I was out of the locked in syndrome, I think my mum finally got her first decent night's sleep in nearly 2 weeks, and even then she wasn't sleeping. So
it'd be hard to.
yes, such an odd experience for people. Because as difficult as it was for me, my family were all going through it thinking that, I was going to die at age 19.
Yeah, it's hard. Ian's so young as well. What would you say was the worst thing? Is there anything that stands out?
Probably when they were diagnosing my encephalitis. So the way they do that is through a spinal tap. So in between your lower spine, they insert a needle into the disc to drain some of the fluid, and then they test that fluid, and that was really painful. Especially as I couldn't. I was the whole time I was lying there, going like basically screaming "ow," but I couldn't say anything, and I had painkillers by that stage, and originally in the beginning of the encephalitis, because they thought I was in a coma, I wasn't given any painkillers, and I don't know how to describe a stroke to you other than it feels like your brain falls out. It's just the really bright, intense pain. And I was with the after effects of that, but they didn't realize because they thought I was in a coma. So I didn't have any painkillers.
You were just feeling that, just straight in.
Yeah. So do you know what some folk would say? That actually was probably the closest I ever did think to come that I was thinking I was going to die, was the pain. Because it was just constant.
How long did that last for?
It lasted pretty much the full 9 days. Because on day 10, that's when they started the treatment, and with the treatment came very strong painkillers, and being locked in whilst on very strange strong painkillers was a different experience.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, like the effect with the painkillers?
Oh, I was off my nut. It was like being high. If you've ever had, I don't know, I don't really know how to describe it other than it's like being high. But not being able to move.
So, do you ever worry about this reoccurring? Does it ever cross your mind?
It does, but I'm so strict with my medication that I have faith it won't happen again. Do you know that because I'm now getting the treatment, and so long as I stay on the treatment, I'm safe pretty much. Now it could happen, but compared to me on the medication without the medication, the chances are much lower down, which is much nicer. So it does cross my mind, but then I kind of was like, well, no, as long as I take my medication, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And are you on top of your own medication, or do you have somebody that does it for you?
I do it all myself. I do sit down with my parents once a month, and we go through the checklist because I am on a lot of medications. I'm on 56 different types of medication.
How does that work?
So it's just they're all for different things. So there's stuff to stop swelling. There's stuff that keeps my brain active enough. Right down to a simple painkiller. There's some vitamins in there. There's a lot of medications. So we do just sit down once a month and sort it through it all.
So Do you have to take all these in one sitting, or are you just like...
throughout the day. So by the end of the day, I've probably had about 32 different meds, and then I've got some weekly medications and some bi-weekly medications.
You got a rock star's diet, really, haven't you? Just a cocktail all day.
It's great fun because I've also got a port in my chest, and when I access the port, it does look quite like a a drug
What's a
addict.
what's a port?
Oh, port is it's a wee implanted tube in one of the veins, so it's underneath my skin, and it's like this wee
Yeah.
flexible membrane that you can basically insert a needle into. So think
Okay.
of an IV, but internal. Um, uh,
Oh, damn.
so yeah, there's loads of different types, but mine's a portacath. And yeah, it just allows me to access my medication and put
Yeah.
it through my heart, and it just makes it easier because I don't have to stab myself millions and millions of times just to get my medication. Makes it a lot
Which
easier.
is good. Yeah. I have a real irrational fear of needles. So that entire story was just trying really hard not to cry and destroy this camera, but we made it through. So
Yeah.
this is
I
good.
used to have a big fear of needles, but I don't anymore.
No, I mean, there's pros and cons to this because you get used to it, I guess.
Mhm.
Hmm. No, I have a reason though. I had a nurse, and I might have been hallucinating, but she pulled out a needle that was like this big, and she like wanged it straight in, and I was like, and she tutted at me. She was like, I was like, has it been a long day? She was like, yeah. I was like, no shit, you just skewered me. And then she went, oh, that needle's far too big. I was like, I could have told you that. It's coming out my elbow. And she just pulled it, and I was like, she's so mean. Ever since then, I had to go for a blood test last year, and I just cried. I'm like grown man crying, and the woman's like, "Oh, so sweet." I'm like, "I'm not sweet."
Yeah, I have to go for weekly blood tests.
Nah, it's not okay.
So yeah, yeah,
This is something you're just like
doesn't bother me
terminated.
anymore.
No, that's not okay. That's too much. But I was getting on here, you know. So, how far along in recovery are you? Like, are you, how are you feeling now?
um, so the encephalitis I will always live with. I'm just on a very strong mix of antibiotics and other medication to keep it from progressing any further. Um, so yeah, I'm doing well. I've got a bunch of other health problems, um, because my body doesn't like me. um, one of my other conditions is called vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Okay.
And I've also got hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So that is my body; it doesn't produce collagen correctly, and it affects like think of all my soft tissues. My bones are about the only thing that aren't affected. So yeah, I'm in decent enough health for what you could consider for me. Um,
Yeah.
so there's 13 different types of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So I've got two types of it, which is pretty common. Um, and yeah, so my joints dislocate very easily. I won't do it, but I can pop my thumb out of the socket.
You
Um,
can do it if
I'm
you're
not going. It's very
no.
dangerous because I might not get it back
Oh,
in.
oh, that
Um,
makes sense. Yeah, don't do that.
yeah, it's not something that should be encouraged for because
I thought,
whilst it is very cool, it's not a good idea.
yeah, no, I just thought if it's something that's like easy enough to be like pop pop,
Yeah.
scare everyone. Honestly, I'm all up for that. I think,
Um,
but obviously, don't risk it.
yeah.
Um,
And I have to walk with a walking stick. Um,
okay.
because I tend to fall over. Um, and and it also just reduces pain for me. But yeah, so EDS is kind of one of these conditions that it's the main thing, and then it's got a load of other things. So for me, it's caused gastroparesis, which is my stomach is paralyzed.
Oh,
So I can't eat. I have a feeding tube in my stomach. And I'm partially deaf, and I'm mostly blind in this eye.
yeah,
So yeah, it affects pretty much everything in your body. So then, and it's also caused a condition called functional neurological disorder, which is like a software issue in my brain.
that's
So
a
my
good way
body
of
sends out the
describing
wrong
that.
signals, and I get what looks like Tourette's to most people. But it's not Tourette's, but it looks like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, my body is not a fun place, but
but you're still smiling,
yeah,
which I mean, is important.
yeah. It's funny as well because I was in college the other day, and currently I have a blood clot in my leg. So I'm sitting with my leg up whilst I'm doing my college work, and my friends are and the people in my class are just like, "Why's your leg up?" And I'm like, "Oh, blood clot." They're just like, "Of course you would just randomly mention that." Like they're just like, "Of fucking course you're doing that," and
Just falling.
they're just like, "What the hell?" Um,
Yeah, I guess at some point you just kind of have to just got to roll with it, really, haven't you?
yeah,
Just embrace what is and keep smiling.
yeah,
You know,
because
I
it is
appreciate
funny
that.
as well when something goes wrong. I have seizures in class, and I can hear the people around me panicking, and and I just wake up and I'm like, "Happening? How's it going?"
There was
Um,
on my first working day in the gym, this young lad walks to the gate and he puts his hand on it and he stands there, and he knew when his seizures were coming. He said he could feel
mhm.
something, and he kind of just looked at me across the desk and was like, "I'm going down now." And I was like, "Oh shit, I've never dealt with a seizure before." And by the time I got round, he had his moment and that, and then he just started laughing. He was like, "It happens." You just like, he was always positive. That's why I appreciate it. It's why it stuck with me as always being, like, even though it's a horrific thing, and especially when you're in the gym lifting weights, like he was just like, "Yeah, it's fine." Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
just keep
it can be
smiling.
pretty funny. Like there was one a couple of weeks ago. I had my earphone in, and Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift was playing. So as I'm having the seizure, I just have that line of "It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me" in my ear,
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh, for God's sake, like
honestly.
couldn't be a worse song. Um, and as a bit of a joke, sometimes my friends they've put on Harlem Shake, they've put on Timber. Um,
You have great friends.
yeah, there's like, oh, there was one time I had a drop seizure, and after it happened, my friend put on that Everybody Do the Flop.
Oh, see, you need people around you like that. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
so we
need
all
people
just
around
laugh
you that,
about it.
yeah.
Um,
I have a question about your walking stick. Like, is it like a like a cane, or is it like a crutch?
it's a cane. It's upstairs right now, but so it's called Penelope, um, and it's just like your standard walking stick. I've got a few adaptations on it, like a softer handle and a thicker base, which looks so ugly. But it
I
stops me
was
from
gonna
falling over.
say, if the top of your walking stick doesn't match your hair, you're missing a trick.
Well, the main part of my walking stick used to match with my hair, which was pink until Sunday.
Ah, okay. So now we got a business idea. Me and you, interchangeable walking sticks, and you just clip them out, pop the new one in for when you want to dye your hair.
Yeah.
Honestly, business idea. If anyone steals it, I'll be really mad. Like even just the top, just boom, just pop it off. There you go.
Yeah, it's good fun having a mad walking stick, and
I feel like you got to pimp it out.
Yeah, because the first walking stick I ever got was from the hospital, and it was the standard grey aluminium.
Yeah.
One that you get. So
Boring.
ugly.
Yeah, honestly.
Then I graduated to a black one, and then I had just recently, until recently, I had one called Hernando, and he was purple, and and Hernando is now part of some artwork I've done.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So because I'm an art student, so I did a piece about the hidden, about what being disabled is like in the hidden disability. I can also send you a picture of that actually.
Yeah, please do.
So kind of I infuse kind of my experiences into my art, and it's a really good fun thing actually. Allows me to be a bit more creative, and it also freaks people out when I make a joke about a very serious medical issue in a piece of art.
Yeah, but if you can't laugh about the worst things, there's no point. Do you know what I mean? There's no point. I used to get really bad sleep paralysis. I mean, obviously it's different, but the experiences were always a bit strange in my head. It was like I would almost see things when I was when I was asleep, but I was awake and I was looking there. And one of the worst ones I ever had, I must have taken a breath. So I was laying with my ex, and all of a sudden, I feel my lungs stop, but I'm fully aware what's happening. I can see her sleeping. I can't feel myself breathing, but I can see what's happening. And I had this moment. It couldn't have lasted for more than a minute or two, but I could feel my lungs tightening from where I wasn't able to breathe. And I remember laying there thinking, I'm going to die. I'm going to die right now. And she's going to wake up and she's going to see my, just me, like a thumb, just just dead. I remember just laying there thinking, this is it. And eventually I kicked out, and you burst up, and I was like, ah! And she told me off for waking her up. And I was like, I nearly died. She didn't care. She was just like, I'm going back to bed. And I was like, if you can't laugh at it, that was one of the most traumatic experiences. It was only a couple of minutes. It's just me being a wimp. But I genuinely in that moment thought I was going to die. And then I got it followed up by being told off. And I was like, if you can't laugh at these things, there's just no point,
Yeah, it keeps it interesting, especially where it's a situation that your average person wouldn't joke about it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Some people feel a bit too timid to. That's when you need to step in. That's when you need to get it.
Yeah.
Finally, what do you think the future holds for you?
I don't have a good answer for that one yet. So I'm in a bit of a crossroads. I'm working out what to do. I'm trying to get into nursing right now because I want to help people in rehabilitation. So when I had to learn to walk again, so I had to learn to walk and talk again. Do you know, I never used to have this stutter. This is all since. So I kind of want to be a nurse and help folk get back on their feet. But because I missed such a large chunk out with my health, I don't have the grades to get directly into university, so I'm trying to get an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll wait and see.
Absolutely.
But I'm quite happy to just take every day as it comes.
No, of
because I
course.
can't say from day to day how I'll be doing.
Yeah. Do you have a social media that people can find you at if they want to send you some, you know, like if they want to follow you, see what you're up to, see how you're getting on, wish you the best?
I am on TikTok under Fizzy Milo Draw, um, but I'm not very active on there, so
Okay.
no promises I'll get back to people. But yeah, that's where I am, and
No, of
if people
course.
have quite want to contact me, I've got a link tree in my bio on my TikTok with a contact form if you want to get in touch with me, because I'm happy to just
Fantastic.
chat to people and see how people are getting on and support others.
Absolutely. We'll put the links down below as well if you want, so that we have that where people can go and follow. You can also find me on Instagram, which is right here. And on there, you can also find my book, The Recluse, which is on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. And I'm on everything. So, yeah, which is all down below. Thank you very much for watching. Before you do anything, before you do anything, before you go, don't leave, don't leave. Like and subscribe. And if you're going to leave a comment, just take a second before you do. Just take a moment and think about what you're going to say. And I promise it's going to make a huge difference. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.